In 1620, while the Mayflower was in Provincetown, 18 of its men sailed in a small shallop, searching for a place to live. They came to present-day Eastham, where they were met by a group of Nauset. After a brief but violent encounter, the English left towards today's Plymouth. In 2020, we remember this first encounter. We explore its meanings for today and tomorrow.
The following text is an excerpt from Chapter 3 of Ian Saxine's book, The Story of the First Encounter at Nauset. Chapter 3 is titled Nauset Encounters. On December 6, the Nauset were well aware of the presence of Englishmen on the Cape. The men qualifier is important because up until this point, the Nauset would have had no idea this group of English planned to start a colony in their midst. The men who came ashore might have been there to trade, to take more captives, or to retaliate for the Wampanoags' killing of their countrymen in the years since Thomas Hunt stole their kin. The Nauset's sachem, a man named Aspinet, would have been kept abreast of the intruders' actions. It is likely that the Nauset knew the English were digging up their food, burglarizing their homes, and even robbing the dead. That the English did not see the Nauset men keeping an eye on them does not mean that they were not. This latest party began to build a barricade near the shore, which hardly made them look peaceable. At some point, Aspinet would have sent messengers to Osamequin, Massasoit, letting the great sachem know that yet another shipload of foreigners had arrived off the coast, later in the season than most of the others. The Nauset's decision to attack the English was their own, as Osamequin, Massasoit had not entered into any treaties of friendship with them that bound his tributary sachems. English shore party looked for Indians and walked through a great burying place and searched for more corn. Nauset war leaders, Nises or Nisok, were probably preparing their men for war, which would have had both ritual and physical components. As in hunting, success in war involves spiritual as well as temporal power, something the English party would have agreed with. During the night of December 7th and 8th, the English heard a great and hideous cry, which stirred them from their sleep and set them to firing off their muskets into the darkness. When the noise stopped, they were convinced it came from wolves or foxes. The English rose before dawn. By this point, the Nauset waited for light and for favorable opportunity to attack. They would have had no doubt as to where the English were camped. Any warrior who needed to help getting his bearings got it when several English began firing their muskets to see if they still worked. The Nauset's attack was well timed, catching the English after they had begun to load their shallop. A number of men left their armor down by the shore before having breakfast in the camp, and some did not have their weapons handy. The English party was divided between the shore barricade they had constructed and the shallop when they had heard a great and strange cry, which Bradford claimed they knew to be the same voices they heard in the night. One of the men who had been out by the boat cried out the alarm as arrows began to fly through the air, and the English scrambled to reach their weapons. Those weapons did not all give the English the advantage against Nauset bows and arrows they had wished. Armor and steel swords protected them against arrows and gave them an advantage in close-quarter combat. But the matchlock muskets most English carried did not compare as favorably. These guns fired a single shot, were accurate only at close range, and were fired by applying a slow-burning lit match to the gun's flashpan, igniting the gunpowder in the barrel. These weapons could sometimes be as hazardous to their owners as intended targets. Misfires were common. The French explorer Samuel de Champlain himself suffered one in a skirmish with the Nauset in 1605, when his weapons, bursting in my hands, came near killing me. In contrast, Nauset warriors could fire multiple well-aimed arrows in the time that it took for a matchlock to fire once. The shortcomings of the English firearms became evident as soon as the fight started. as only 3 of the Englishmen defending the shallop were able to fire their weapons. The rest needed to light their matches. One of the men defending the barricade carried a log from the fire out to the boat on his shoulder. Even as they filled the air with arrows and war cries, the English found dreadful the Nauset did not charge. Instead, both sides fired at each other from cover. One valiant Nauset the English suspected was a war leader exchanged volleys with them from behind a tree well within musket range. English musket balls sprayed bark and splinters all around them until the man finally joined his comrades in a general withdrawal. English participants estimated by their noise the Nauset might have numbered 30 or 40 warriors against their 18. If that was the case, veterans of European battles like Miles Standish may have wondered why the Nauset did not try to overwhelm their outnumbered English in a rush, especially before the defenders had all reached their weapons. Assuming English estimates of Nauset numbers were correct, far from certain, the explanation lies with the military culture of the attacking warriors, which shaped their arms and tactics. Among the Wampanoag and their neighbors, Nises, who demonstrated skill in combat, did so not only by slaying enemies, taking prisoners, and demonstrating feats of bravery, but also by minimizing casualties of their own side. Among the Algonquin-speaking peoples of the American Northeast, fears of wartime bravery were not bound up with an unnecessary sacrifice of life. Charging an enemy force ready to exact a heavy cost in blood was evidence of stupidity, not bravery. In their own wars against each other, Eastern Woodlands Indians sometimes engaged in battles that resulted in high casualties, as archaeological and written evidence attests. However, these affairs tended to be one-sided when, for example, a large force took a smaller village by surprise, unlike the bloody slugfests like Lutzen in 1632 that came to characterize European warfare at the time. Bradford's account claims that several English wearing coats of mail and carrying swords charged against the Nauset early in the fight, giving their comrades a chance to reach their weapons. The unarmored Nauset had some brass-tipped arrows, but likely few edged weapons capable of matching the English in close quarters, which further explains why they kept their distance. While the Nauset attackers would no doubt have liked to kill or capture at least some of the interlopers who were looting their cemeteries, and they may have suspected looking to kidnap more of their relatives, the most important goal for the Nauset warriors would have been driving the unwanted English away from their homes and families. As a result, both sides would claim to have won what the Plymouth colonists started calling the first encounter, and both probably did. The English followed the Nauset for a short distance, firing off a few more muskets and shouting that they might see we were not afraid of them, and knew that it pleased God to vanquish our enemies. The colonists gathered up a bundle of 18 arrows to send to England to show what they were up against. Ironically, a move the Nauset would have approved, as it would have conveyed evidence of their resolve. Despite a number of near misses, none of the English were hurt in the fight, and there is no evidence any Nauset were either. For that, the Nauset could credit the strength of their own spiritual power. Not only did their own warriors emerge unscathed from battle, but soon afterwards the English sailed away in their shallop. That same day, a Friday, a storm broke their rudder and mast, blowing them into Plymouth Harbor. After spending Saturday making repairs and Sunday at prayer, the party went ashore on Monday, December 11th. Soon afterwards, the Plymouth colonists decided to build their town of New Plymouth, not amidst the Nauset, but down the coast among the abandoned cornfields where the village of Patuxet once stood. For the Nauset, that was a victory. But with the English now building a town nearby, only a partial one.
My name is Joanna Hollick. I'd like to share an invitation with you regarding Eastham 400's other series, the Campfire Series. The Campfire Series is a series of hour-long presentations each Sunday in July and August that delve more deeply into some of the topics we discuss here on the Sunset Series. Previous episodes of the Campfire Series can be found on our website, eastham400.org. We are happy to announce that 2 of our campfires will be held in person. On Sunday, August 16th and Sunday, August 30th, these campfires will be held at the Eastham Windmill at 6 p.m. Presentations will feature John Hanlon, who has led the campfires at the Cape Cod National Seashore for the past 20 years, and Linda Coombs, a member of the Aquinnah Wampanoag tribe. The same presentation will be given both nights. We are excited about these events and hope to see you there.